Hey, soccer fans, welcome back to the Feed the Fire podcast. I am your host, Nick, and yeah, it's been about a week since I last got the chance to speak to everybody here, but the Fire had the week off. I figured I would take a little time off as well, focus on some other things around home, around work. One of those things being my son's youth soccer team. I am once again coaching, but this time taking a step down to the younger son who is in first grade, and we had our first team practice, and I gotta ask a question of everyone out there listening and who's been involved in youth sports, soccer or otherwise. My son had a breakaway and I was playing goalie in the offense-defense drill. He got very, very upset that I blocked his shot. So I need to know, should I have let the goal in? Should I have gone easy on him? Or is it my privilege as dad to make sure that I can block his shot and continue to assert dominance over him in sports for as long as possible, even though he is in first grade? I need the feedback there, because I definitely instinctually just went down to block it, and I was like, I can't let my son score on me. That's not going to look good. I'll never live this down. I let him score on me back in his camp a year ago, and I heard about it for the entire summer. So I'm not about to let him do this again. Then again, maybe I was acting a little too harshly on my first grader. So yeah, let me know if you think that I did the right thing, if I did the wrong thing, or if I just did a thing. And we'll take it from there. You can follow along on socials at Glasshouse Soccer, and you can email me at glasshousesoccer@gmail.com. Now, it has been a week since the Chicago Fire's last match, a devastating 4-0 loss at Philadelphia on the 23rd of August. We're going to do a quick recap of that, look at the standings, hit up a few team announcements, and then we're going to take a look at a few call-ups as we approach the international window. So this last loss that the Fire had, 4-0 at Philadelphia, just an utter shellacking. And this shows you the gap between a good Fire team and a team that is contending for trophies in MLS right now. They didn't need to run up 4 on the Fire. They had their opening goal by Ty Baribo in the 34th, took a 1-0 lead into halftime, which I think most Fire fans would have been okay with considering how well Philadelphia was playing. The Fire had a couple chances, but could not convert. Then in the 64th minute, Kai Wagner gets the second goal for the home team Union, and you're like, okay, maybe they're going to take it easy, but no. Then you've got Jean-Jacques in the 33rd and in the 73rd, and Oloski, who had himself an incredible game, gets the fourth one in the 80th minute. Philadelphia did not take their foot off the gas. And this really played mental games with the Fire. The Fire kept looking to find a way back into this game, and Philadelphia would not let them find that little bit of room. And they just kept pouring on the attack. Now, from the Fire's perspective, looking at their lineup, we know that Carlos Terán had been transferred out. So who did they end up starting in the back line? Their center backs were Jack Elliott and Chris Cupps. Cupps, as good as he's looked against some other mediocre and below average MLS teams, looked like a rookie in this matchup against Philadelphia. You had Gutman and Barroso on the wings and Brady starting in goal. In your midfield, you had Orahel, Gutierrez, and Davila, who has kind of become the de facto starter over Pineda and Acosta there in that defensive mid position. I saw the Fire with a lot of good ball movement in the middle of the field, especially with these midfield players, either breaking the press, a lot of 1 and 2 touch play to advance the ball, either from defense to offense, spraying it out to the wing, or trying to work a little 1-2 combination just to maintain some possession and kind of grow into the game. So I really like that Davila has been able to up his game quickly in his first season in MLS, but we still need a lot more from him. I know he's a developmental piece, but we still need to see a lot more from him, from Gutierrez, and from Orahel. They need to take the next leap. We've been saying that about Gutierrez for the last couple of years now. And what is that next leap, though? Is Gutierrez's next leap to become a 15 to 20 goal contribution guy season in and season out? Is his next leap going to be staying at about, 8 to 10 goal contributions a season, but then also making sure he tracks back, becoming a box-to-box midfielder, if you will? What's Orahell's next step going to be? Is it going to be him being that kind of lockdown defender, the guy who can, number one, shut down the opposing team's best player, and number two, be a guy who can play on the ball as well? We need this midfield to take a step forward now as a collective group if we are going to see the Chicago Fire make any sort of progress towards their goals of trophies and championships over the next 2-3 seasons. So they played, you saw a lot of good here, a lot of good 1 and 2 touch, a lot of good knowing where they were, but still lacking in the defense against these top quality MLS teams. You had Zinkernagel on the right wing, Bamba on the left wing, and Kuipers starting up front. Kuipers pretty much a ghost in this game. Was not getting distribution, was not getting in the right spaces, was always, Kuipers is making his runs and working hard, but there was just nothing for him to play off of or anyone to play with because of how well Philadelphia was playing and pressing in that midfield. So it was a very, very difficult game for Hugo Kuipers. And then once we saw that third goal come in, that's when the subs came in, start to get those starters on their recovery process. We saw Jonathan Dean come in for Barroso. We saw Kellen Acosta come in for Orahell. Selassie and Barlow come in for Zinkernagel and Kuipers. And then we get to see new Chicago Fire signing Andre Franco make his debut as he comes in for Jay Davila. Now, I have to acknowledge a faux pas I made on social media regarding this match. And we've talked about the lineup, we've talked about the players in this match. We've also talked about throughout the course of the season how weak the Chicago Fire backline has been. And they addressed that in the transfer window, getting Radojevic and Waterman in. Waterman, the Montreal veteran. I almost said Montreal Impact. The CF Montreal veteran. I think he played when they were still the Impact. Many years in the league, veteran center back. Then you've got Radojevic, the up-and-coming 21-year-old right winger from Serbia. So they did add some pieces to the back line there. And I wonder if they're trying to transition Pineda or still trying to figure him out because we didn't see him make an appearance in this match at all, in midfield or in defense. But despite these moves, the Fire still gave up 4 goals. And I thought I was being clever. And I sent a tweet out. And I said, I guess we didn't fix the back line in this signing window. To which I was promptly reminded that the new signings had not even arrived yet in Chicago and were not available to try to help the back line. So thank you to Tyrus Rose. Thank you to Tim Hatza. Thank you to, I think, was it DP Podcast, Designated Players Podcast? A couple other people pointed it out. And I appreciate you all doing it in a very fun, jesting, or it was John, that's who it was. It was John over at Men in Red 97, John West over on Twitter. Thank you guys for pointing that out, one, and doing it too in such a kind of playful, like, come on, Nick, get your head out your butt. I appreciate that, as opposed to the one Fire fan who just decided to insult me because I had, spat something out online before realizing that it had been, that the players hadn't arrived yet. So, I'm going to own up to my faux pas, but let's see if these incoming guys can increase some of the defensive prowess for the Fire. Now, the concern, too, is that Waterman, who's coming in, just got called up to the Canadian national team and will probably miss 2 or 3 Fire games, so it's going to be difficult for him to help when he's out on international duty. Anyway, back to the Philadelphia game. If you look at it from a statistical standpoint, you really do see how Philadelphia is head and shoulders above the Chicago Fire here. While possession was about 50-50 in this match, what did the teams do with their possession? Philadelphia got off 23 shots, 7 on goal, and had a 466 passing day at about 86% accuracy. Meanwhile, the Fire, with about 50% possession, only pulled off 9 shots, 2 on goal, 441 total passes at an 83% clip. The Fire ended up with 4 corners and 4 crosses as opposed to Philadelphia's 6 corners and 13 crosses. 1 offside for the Fire, 3 for Philly. They were really stretching that back line. The Fire were outdueled in the air, 19-14. Brady was credited with 3 saves. The defense credited with 9 clearances, 10 fouls, and 2 yellow cards. And the funny thing is, if you look at Philly, they had 6 clearances, 16 fouls, and 3 yellow cards. And they were playing with the lead most of this game. What is really telling, though, and actually what is most damning to the Chicago Fire here, is their expected goals. Once again, no offense was generated practically. They had an XG of 0.6. So for all their efforts in this match, they were only expected to score 0.6 of a goal, as opposed to the Union, who ended up with an XG of 3.6, so outperforming the statistics there. But thankfully, the Chicago Fire had the week off. They were able to integrate some of their new defenders, who are, I'm pretty sure, who are here now. And we will see if they can make up for it, because they are in desperate need for points, because we're going to look at the standings right now, if they can make up for it this Saturday against New England. So after the results of the last couple weeks, the loss and then their kind of de facto bye week, since Miami-Chicago got rescheduled because Miami had to go lose to the Seattle Sounders in the League's Cup final, which, by the way, that game was so much fun to watch. It was a blast because you saw a very methodical Miami team, a team who comes in overconfident, and also a team, though, that just relies on Messi to make stuff happen if they don't get a quick goal. You saw them absolutely get dismantled by the Seattle Sounders. The Seattle Sounders best players, by the Seattle Sounders homegrown players, by every level of that Sounders team. There were definitely parts where Miami should have scored goals. Like, how often does Messi miss from inside the box and he skied it? Oh, like, not even close. It wasn't like just over the bar. It was way over the bar. So when that happened, I went, this is not their night. They are not in sync. You also saw how Seattle had a wonderful game plan to disrupt Miami, both from a physical standpoint and a pressing, counter-pressing standpoint, and then from an attack standpoint. They knew where they were going. They knew who to attack and when to attack them. And it was a fantastic game to watch from a coaching level, a tactical level, and an individual performance level, mostly from the Seattle side. And then I just want to congratulate the Sounders now. The bit of trivia, too, not coming off of that game, is that the Sounders have now won every available trophy to them in North America. They've now won Leagues Cup. They won CONCACAF Champions Cup a couple years back. And they've won U.S. Open Cups and MLS Cups and Supporter Shields as well. So kudos to the Sounders franchise. That's fantastic. I really don't want to talk too much about the post-game extracurriculars, as they're calling them, where Suarez went after Obed Vargas after the game. Where one of Seattle's coaches came in and was shoving. Then you saw Miami players throwing punches. Suarez just wouldn't let well enough alone. He continued to go after one of Seattle's coaches and spat on him. Allegedly. Let me play lawyer here. Allegedly spat on him, but yeah, there's pretty clear video about it. Just something that's absolutely awful. And Miami has always kind of been that villain because they were like the better team. They were taking advantage of not taking advantage as breaking the rules, but they were taking advantage of the roster rules. And they were doing all these things that you kind of wished your team would do. And so that made you mad, and they were winning, and they won the Shield, and they got all these extra special treatment to go to CONCACAF Champions Cup and to host all these games and all that sort of thing. So they were the villains for that. But now they really are villains. Like, you saw how nasty those players were, how terrible Mascherano is as a coach tactically, and as someone who can control his players and maintain some respect and semblance of a club. You've seen now the true colors of these Miami players and why they have come to this league. They thought they were just going to come in, get a paycheck, and roll over everybody. For a long time, they were doing just that. But as they say, adversity reveals your true colors, and we saw the true colors here. And even though Seattle was the one in the green jerseys, Miami is the one wearing the envious green on their faces because they can't win these kind of games. When the game is actually called the right way, it's not as easy for them. All right, that's enough I'll say about Seattle-Miami. Getting back to the Eastern Conference standings here. After the results from the last couple weeks, we see the Chicago Fire drop down to 10th place. They're on 39 points on 27 games. Ahead of them, Red Bulls have 40 points on 29 games, and New York City's on 44 points on 27 games. I don't think that they're going to catch 7th place Columbus unless they can beat them. Unless the Fire beat Columbus in the upcoming match at home, I don't see that happening. But the Crew are now 7 points ahead of the Fire, 46 points on 28 games. I am shocked here, by the way. Charlotte was a team that was like struggling. Are they in or are they out? But holy cow, if you look at their recent results, Charlotte has shot up to 3rd in the standings, owning the tiebreaker against 4th place Nashville. Here's their run of form. Win at New England, win versus Red Bulls, win versus Salt Lake, win at Cincinnati, and then even before that, a win and a draw and a loss in Leagues Cup. Going back before Leagues Cup, win versus Toronto, win at Charlotte, win versus DC, win versus New York City. They are on one heck of a streak in MLS season play. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 game win streak for Charlotte, and count it as a 9-game point streak. In fact, the last time Charlotte lost a game was at the end of June at all here in Soldier Field to the Chicago Fire. So that's quite an impressive run by Charlotte to move all the way up to 3rd place, and doing it again, playing a decent Leagues Cup group stage as well. So Charlotte is up in 3rd place. The aforementioned Miami tied with Columbus on points, but holding the tiebreaker right now on 46 points as well. So the Fire are looking to leapfrog the Red Bulls. If they get the win in against New York City, maybe they can move into the 8th spot. But realistically, the Fire are eyeing this 9 spot here. Where this weekend against Philly really hurt was in the goal differential tiebreaker. Again, it's the second tiebreaker. The first tiebreaker is number of wins, then it's goals. But now the Chicago Fire are only at a +2 goal differential. New York Red Bulls and the Crew are +4. New York City's +6. So the Fire are going to need to win some games. Now, in doing so, they're going to probably bring their goal differential up. Assuming they win these games and get into that 9th or 8th place, they'll bring their goal differential up. But the fact of the matter is they need the points right now. They have 2 games in hand against Red Bulls, which is nice. And then they are even on games played with New York City. And again, New York City at that 27 game mark still has 1 and 2 games in hand on most other teams. So I doubt they're going to catch New York City just looking at the way the table is right now. But they do have the potential to leapfrog Red Bulls with a good final stretch of the season here. If you want to look at points per game average, New York City, 1.63 points per game. Columbus, 1.64. Orlando, up in the 5th spot, 1.68. Miami is in 6th, but they have 1.84 points per game. They have 4 games in hand right now because of all their Leagues Cup play. Meanwhile, the Fire have 1.44. So if you look at that as an indicator, maybe they get that 1 or 2 results that go their way and allow them to sneak into that 9th spot. But I think that's what we need to eye and expect as Chicago Fire fans. Okay, let's get a little bit of Fire news, and then we can wrap, and I'll do a separate preview episode for this upcoming New England game that is taking place this Saturday, 7:30 at SeatGeek, and I will see you there. I'm bringing some friends. It'll be a good time. The first bit of interesting news is that the Chicago Fire have acquired the Chicagoland Indoor Soccer League, the CISL. And here's the news release that came out last week about it. Chicago Fire FC and Chicagoland Indoor Soccer League, CISL, the premier indoor soccer league in Illinois, announced today that the MLS club has acquired the league from its founder and operator, John Nystrom. Launched in 2007, CISL was established to provide youth soccer players with a high-quality competitive indoor league during Chicago's winter months. Since its start with 40 teams in 2008, CISL has grown to 800-plus teams and 10,000 to 12,000 players annually across multiple venues, making it one of the largest youth soccer leagues indoor or outdoor, in the Chicago area. The addition of CISL to the Fire's ecosystem will enhance the club's visibility within the Illinois youth soccer community and allow the club to establish a strong brand presence among CISL clubs and young players who participate. Partnership will allow the Fire to strengthen relationships with club directors, coaches, players, and families, creating a pipeline of future professional players and lifelong supporters of the Fire. These key relationships will ensure alignment and support at every level and build a foundation for collaboration and shared growth. So I'm going to finish. There's a couple more paragraphs to this announcement, which is going to provide some cool information, but what we're seeing right now is the Fire are doing everything to not only support their brand, their business, but also the product on the field. Like, every move has a dual prong. It has a dual purpose. Support the business, grow the fan base, but also identify new players, expand your scouting network, and improve the player pool that you can pull into your senior team. So it's fantastic. All right, now here is a quote from Senior Vice President of Youth Soccer, Paul Cadwell. Quote, Chicago Fire FC is thrilled to be partnering with CISL to lead the evolution of youth soccer within our state. As a club, one of our long-term goals is to be the professional club of choice and be involved wherever the game is played. The partnership with CISL will allow us to do just that and will serve as an exciting opportunity for those involved as the league extends its reach in the future. End quote. The article now continues. The Fire will work with CISL clubs on new initiatives that support the continued education and development of players, coaches, and, this is cool, and referees, while fostering a stronger connection to the club's first team and academy through deliberate and tailored access. The club has a strong record of accomplishment in developing local talent, including several former CISL players. I didn't know this. Andrew Gutman, Mauricio Pineda, Chris Brady, and Sergio Orahel, who went on to sign as Fire homegrown players and contribute at the pro level. This partnership aims to continue and expand the pathway for future generations of Chicagoland players. I think this is cool because a lot of clubs that kids are going to be playing with don't have as great an indoor presence, or maybe they just treat it like a workout, like an off-season kind of thing. So this would be great if the Chicago Fire can identify those clubs, and some of those clubs, even if they do have indoor teams, can't, because of the smaller roster sizes, maybe they don't have all their players playing in the winter, or maybe you're going to have people who want to take winters off. Honestly, it'd probably save my knees a few years of wear and tear if I'd have taken a couple of indoor seasons off. Maybe the scheduling with the CISL would allow families to take vacations, kids to take some sort of an off season from their club, but also continue to play within the Chicago Fire environment. Now here we get a quote from CISL founder John Nystrom. Partnering with the Chicago Fire FC was a clear and strategic decision. Their goal to make soccer a top priority in Chicago perfectly aligns with our vision. The Fire's passionate team is dedicated exclusively to the Chicago market and will leverage the CISL platform to grow the Fire brand within the local soccer community, identify talented players for the Chicago Fire Academy, and develop players for their professional team. The CISL team remains committed to operating a professional platform and is dedicated to advancing the beautiful game. End quote. The other thing I think is cool here is, first of all, it's a lot of business speak, a lot of corporate speak, buzzwords in there, which I think is kind of neat because you can apply a lot of standard corporate practices in the sporting and entertainment industries, and then you've got a guy in Joe Mansueto and Greg Berhalter and Dave Baldwin and Paul Cadwell and all these guys who know how to then depart from traditional corporate wisdom and apply what they know in the sports and entertainment realm. So I think this is fantastic when you're hearing some of these buzzwords, but then they're going to pivot it in the right direction when they need to. The other thing that makes me wonder is if the Chicago Fire are interested in expanding their brand, quote unquote, expanding their product line, so to say, and starting a professional indoor soccer team. I don't know if the MISL is still out there. I'll have to go take a look at that. But that would be another cool thing, just another way Chicago can get its influence in the national soccer picture. All right, the article concludes that, building on CISL's reputation and success within the community, the Fire will leverage the resources and expertise of the pro club to professionalize operations, strengthen systems and infrastructure, and increase the visibility of youth clubs, officials, and players across the platform. You can email Chicago, or you can visit ChicagolandIndoorSoccer.com for more information. A little bit more about Chicagoland Indoor Soccer. They have boys and girls teams from under 8s to under 19s. 5v5, 7v7, 9v9, 11v11 for across 7 indoor facilities. Yeah, and that's a few more of the details there. So a very cool announcement. Something I didn't expect. Maybe people a little more in the know within the organization or within Chicago soccer specifically, like the city of Chicago and Chicago Indoor Soccer specifically knew. But I think that's a really cool move. That shows you, too, that there is a vision bigger than just the Chicago Fire first team and bigger than just the Chicago Fire first team, second team, and academy. Like, that's not all they want. Like, this organization is going to be a major player in American soccer in the next 10 to 20 years, it would seem. Or at the very least, the player in the Chicagoland area, if not the entire Midwest region. A couple other announcements just to kind of call out some talent, some of that young talent that the Fire have been developing. There have been some international call-ups. So academy players Rocco Pahar was called up to the U.S. Under 17 men's youth national team, and academy player Oscar Pineda, yes, that Pineda, was called up to Mexico's U17 men's national team for their international window. In addition, Dylan Borso called up to the U.S. U20 men's national team for their upcoming matches. And for the senior national teams, you've got not seniors yet. Leo Barroso gets called up to the Portugal U21 national team, and Joel Waterman gets called up to the Canadian national team for their upcoming international windows. So with that, we'll go ahead and wrap this episode. I want to thank everyone for tuning in, listening, watching, liking, subscribing, rating, reviewing, all that great stuff. Thank you to Skira Icelandic Spring Water, our sponsor on this program. Please get out to your local 7-Eleven, buy a bottle, 2, 3 of Skira Icelandic Spring Water. We could not have this show without their support and their initial investment in us here. I also want to thank everyone out there who has interacted with me on social media, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. Thank you for all your comments. I got to get over and check the Spotify comments. It's been a while since I looked at those. But I will see everyone this weekend at the New England match at SeatGeek. Let's go Fire.